Hello and welcome back to Thursdays with Culture Talk. It's Teresa Agresta here, along with my co-founder and partner in crime, Cynthia Forstman, also my sister. So uh, last week, we had an opportunity to go on a journey with Cynthia as we debriefed some of the patterns, the archetypes that are highly, that validate very highly for her. And she shared with us the ways in which those work well and ways in which they sometimes show up in shadow and create some inner tug of war, maybe, or some challenges for her. So what we wanted to do today is to take that conversation to the next level and help to draw out how can you use these patterns in a relationship? How can they help you once you understand more about yourself and make a little investment in understanding more about someone else as well? So, Cynthia.
Right. It always starts with that self-reflection of who am I? And we looked at, even in my patterns, how can I grow by understanding kind of what my shadow traits are? How can I use that to carve out kind of a professional development plan, a personal growth plan? And we got to the end of that and we said, another way that we can do growth is by looking at our archetypal pairings with other people that we work with. So we're back, and what we wanted to talk about this week is one of Teresa's archetypal patterns, and how two of our patterns come together for better or worse. So Teresa, I was wondering if I could put you in the hot seat and you could share with us. Yeah, no, it feels good, right? You could share with us about one of your archetypes that I do not have a high version of.
Okay. Yeah, we have some in common, but
Right.
ruler is one that I have,
That
and
I scored
creative.
very lowly on.
Yeah.
Yes.
So okay.
So
Um,
tell me about the ruler in
sure.
your life experience and where it shows up in positive ways.
Okay. So the ruler archetype I trace back to being the second of our brood, right, of 10 kids. And so this, especially, in a Italian family where someone has to be in charge. And I probably subconsciously just decided it would be me. Someone had to make sure there was order for all of the different, constant flux of people coming and going. And even if it only made me feel better, that I felt like that there was some structure and some systems in place. So I think that's probably where I traced the ruler back to. And it worked for me in that regard.
And I know some of the siblings would say Truce is the boss of the family.
Exactly.
It's a term of endearment, I
It
think.
was, yes, it was said with kindness. Um,
Mhm.
but where it also showed up was, in continually being looked at to take a leadership position. So as I was growing up, it was like captain of the cheerleading squad, the leader of the youth group, the person voted to give the presentation at the high school awards ceremony, the only one who actually got voted. I didn't win valedictorian, but I was voted to speak. And so there were lots of examples where people just naturally looked to me to be a leader. And I think that that was a recognition of, sort of the ability and the willingness to step up when called on. And that just felt comfortable and natural. I didn't go looking for it, but it continued to happen. So I think that was another way in which the ruler archetype, was really present for me.
And then just take it into, your business and how it's shown up, with us in our partnership.
Yeah. So over these 20 plus years, right, of working together, I've played the role of being the person who puts the structure in place, who took, responsibility for the team in a large way in terms of hiring them and keeping them, creating systems and creating systems in the business around finances and operations and things like that. So that ability or willingness, or maybe by default, to be the one who pays attention to making sure that the good of the whole is met, that all the pieces of the business are moving forward, and that there's a constant sense of productivity and profitability. Those things have kind of fallen naturally to me.
Mm. Yeah, and I would say I love that you use the phrase "the good of the whole" because I know that your ruler, when it's coming through in a productive, empowered way, actually has that feel to it. So now I want to like switch just a little bit and talk not so much about ruler shadow, but I want to talk about our experience. And maybe let's match up our ruler and our creator, where because those
You mean
are
my ruler and your creator.
yeah, exactly. And I would start with the comment that both the ruler and the creator have as part of their capacity this idea of order and creating order for things. And you mentioned, the focus of ruler is creating order for the good of the whole.
Yeah,
Whereas
safety, right? Structure. Yeah.
and I would maybe say on the creator side, the order is more about creating things that are meaningful, taking ideas and weaving together ideas and concepts in ways that they can be shared with people and understood and people connect with them. So I know that like in our business, both pieces of that are if we looked at, I mean, we need both aspects of that to make our business work.
Right.
But let's talk a little bit about maybe where some of the tension lies between our patterns and what we've learned about how to manage that.
Yeah, sure. So I think, over this long period of time, we definitely recognize that when things need to sort of move along a little faster, I'm probably the one that might be pushing a little bit to move things along and to get things done. And it's probably a natural tension between wanting to keep us, safe and structured versus the creator's natural desire to have things look really good and be detail oriented and perfect. And we know that's something that people really appreciate and comment on constantly about what we have created as an organization. So it's this natural push and pull of me saying, we haven't got enough time to finish that, we have to keep moving, and you saying it needs to be a
Yeah.
certain level of quality.
And also that it takes time, right, from the experience of a creator to actually execute at that level, that it takes time, it kind of can't be rushed, if you will.
Mhm.
um, I think that's a good example, and I'll share my experience of how I've learned to manage that tension when it shows up between us. Is knowing. So sometimes when I'm feeling that push from you to hurry up and bring something to completion, I literally, because I know that it's I I maybe when I'm feeling reactive, it feels like you're being bossy, you're stepping into some ruler's shadow of like, and I want to react and say, don't tell me what to do, you're not the boss of me, or like I want to react in that way. But I find that if I take a pause, take a breath, and instead of hearing it with that lens, let it come from the lens of knowing where your motivation is to kind of keep things moving. And even though I might not be able to produce it as fast, to just not take it personally. That's been one of the things that I think we've grown through over years of working together with those patterns that are both beautiful patterns but have that kind of inbuilt tension.
Yeah, absolutely. And from my perspective, you know, learning to slow down and listen a little bit and be able to appreciate the value and the, just the aesthetic beauty and the thoroughness, and sit back and listen to some of the praise that comes through, and the just huge appreciation that people have for the things that we create, that you lead or that we co-create, and to recognize that that feels awful good. And I think that our both our mutual shared lover archetype appreciates that, the same
Good
way.
feedback.
Yeah,
Yeah, really good.
yeah, yeah. So
Well, people ask us all the time, how do you work with your sister? And we've worked together for more than 20 years. So that's just a peek into how you can take archetypes, look at your patterns, and create new ways of collaborating as
Right.
teammates.
And I always answer that question by saying, it is a commitment. It is a relationship that takes a lot of commitment, and it's not always a walk in the park, but it is a mutual commitment. And that's, I think, where any relationship experiences success, whether it's siblings, business partners, or anybody that you work with. So just one way that archetypes can help us to do that more with more intention. And we'll look forward to sharing some more ideas with you next week. Thanks for being here. And we love talking culture with you.
I love you, sis. All right. Bye.
Bye.